Hello everyone, Gunter here, and welcome back to another episode of Gunter Talks. No, seriously. And another 2 weeks has passed, and I failed to do the 1 week episode podcast type setup that I'm trying to do. But it comes with the territory because this is me kind of starting out and trying to get a schedule together, and it's not working out. So I'm going to try to get them not every Friday, but maybe every other Friday for a 2 week period. And hopefully that will get me going as far as like getting better topics to talk about in the future. But I will say, as far as this particular episode, this is the one that kind of helps give the reason why this particular episode took 2 weeks to put out, even though they're super easy to do. It had to do with my PC. And the PC that I recently bought, like, I want to say like almost 2 months ago, I've been doing some stuff to it to make it hopefully slightly better than it came out of the box. And there are some ups with that process, and there are some definite downs with that process as well. And this episode is talking about the journey and struggle of me dabbling into PC hardware, or just PCs in general. Like I always do with these particular episodes, or this particular podcast, I talk in length, well, sometimes in length, about the history of said topic that I talk about. And this one is kind of short. It's not that big. I haven't really dabbled into like PC hardware at all. I did dabble. I do tinker a lot with stuff. I help take apart. Like I had. Actually, I don't think I've mentioned this in my gaming console, like video game episode, which you can check out. I believe it's episode either 6. It was either 6 or it was probably the previous episode. But yeah. Funny story. I believe I mentioned me trying to go through a bunch of PS2s in that episode, and there was one point in my life that I actually straight up went and tried to tinker inside of the thing, like actually took it apart with a screwdriver and stuff, and see what was wrong with that particular one that I had. And it turns out it was a power strip that needed to be reconnected. It got loose somehow, but it needed to be reconnected. It wasn't properly connected. And unfortunately, I got caught, and my mom decided that you went and destroyed it. And even though I told her I would probably try to fix it, she's like, "Nope, you broke it. You can't fix it. You have to get rid of it." And I had to get rid of it. She just straight up took it, and it's like, you done. Why would you do that? You messed it up. You can't fix that. You're too young. Even I was like, and in her defense, I was in middle school. Like, in her eyes, probably too young to even tinker with stuff like that. But I literally legit found the problem, and I was trying to figure my way to try to solve it and stuff. So, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and it was gone. It was gone, out of my life, gone, and that was a sad time. But other than that, as far as like tinkering with PCs, I have not even I didn't know most parts of the components. I did know about the motherboard, well, the word I should say. I knew a motherboard was involved, and I knew uh, I think CPU was involved. I knew those only two things. I didn't know anything else about parts of a PC and what helps it go faster or what helps play games on it better and stuff like that. So I didn't know. I didn't know any of that stuff. But that all changed about a couple months ago. A couple months ago, I bought my PC, which happens to be the HP Slim desktop PC that I got over at Walmart for about $300 in tax. Um, it was like $325 after tax. Um, so yeah, it was a $300 PC, and out of the box, it was all right. It was basically this the slim size of it is basically the size of a console, like the Xbox 360 Slim. If you want to compare it to that, it is basically around that same size. And it's slightly thicker than a PS4, but it has the same height. But all in all, it's basically just a small PC um, that I was able to save up because the main purpose of me wanting to try to get a PC was to try to improve my stream quality content to be able to use OBS and try to put a little bit more production into my streams. That was mainly the big goal because I did have an Elgato that I saved up from like what 5 years because the Elgato I have is the HD60 and now they have the HD60S 4K or whatever. Um, which I, in hindsight, I probably should have gotten the HD60S because um, that particular Elgato has a charge port or at least a connecting point to plug into your PC, and that the S version has the Type C connector, whereas the one that I had saved and bought, well, I bought like what years ago and kept for wanting to try to one day do streaming on that thing. Um, that one needed to have, I believe, a micro USB Type B, which is not readily available in retail stores anymore. That particular connector got discontinued, like I'd say a couple of years ago, like maybe 2017, maybe I don't remember. But yeah, that got disconnected, so I had to buy another one over at Amazon, which was it was a simple process, but it still ended up costing me a good chunk of money, like $7. Um, and got that working, and boom, was able to stream off of my PS4, and was like, yeah, yeah. I was able to stream off of things, even though there's like a bit of a delay transmitting the game capture into the OBS. So during streams, you probably hear me talk about something slightly ahead of the actual video while I'm streaming, and yeah, that kind of leads to some like weird like preemptive like yeah after I like somehow win a match or like win a victory off of Apex or something, and I'll go like yeah, and then the champion goes up like a half second later. But okay, now another thing that was one of the big things I wanted to do was there were some games that I knew about and wanted to play, but were pretty much exclusive to either Steam or just trying to get it off a PC. And that led to me going to a deeper part of the PC world. Um, and that all started with me trying to play a game that I got off of a giveaway, and that being Battle Chef Brigade. And I streamed it like maybe a month ago. I went and streamed it, and I was like, yeah, this is a good game. I've heard good things about it, and I played it, and the combat is pretty cool, and the interesting mechanic with puzzling, color lining up to try to create unique dishes and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I love that. But because this particular PC was not meant to play games right off the box, there were significant frame drops during certain segments of the game, which led to a pretty not great viewing experience for streaming. Kind of learned that the hard way, but that led to me doing some big research, big research. So yeah, I go and find out that needed a graphics card for it, and also needed another 4 gigs of RAM, and also somewhat optional, but is pretty beneficial, putting an SSD in there to help speed up certain apps and programs. And yeah, this is this was the big process that I needed to do, and yeah, that was an experience. So um, we just got through 11 minutes of me talking about PCs. All right, let's keep going, shall we? About installing said stuff that that I did. So um, the 4 gigs of RAM I got was from Crucial. Snapped that in. That was pretty simple. And the graphics card that I decided to get was a Zotac version of the GeForce GT 1030. Now, for those of you who are big PC nerds, you're probably thinking like, "Yo, a GT 1030? What are you high? There are better graphics cards out there that are that'll get the job done." So there's some issues with those particular type of stuff, or a particular graphics card discussion. For one, I needed to get a low profile style graphics card to fit the inside of the thing, and the only main reason why I chose to get that particular card was because of its slim nature. And why would I need a slim PC? Why I needed a slim graphics card? It's because the PCI Express slot that I needed to put in this card in, it was near the power supply, which means that it was the space of where it needed to be was basically just one slot, just like one slot space of just clearance. And normally the express slot would be towards the CPU, which would be able to put in, like, say, a GTX 1650, where it's a dual slot card, or a dual space, to where it'll take up 2 slots of the express slot, and mine only needed 1, because the space, it was so narrow, and I had to get the one from Zotac, because from all the pictures that I've seen, that one was the slimmest from what I've seen. And yeah, that was a bit of a struggle. And under $100, it was pretty much one of the better ones to get in that price range, as far as like having all that critique stuff, and all that stuff. It was a struggle trying to get the right graphics card for this particular PC. Although if I did have enough, had extra money to spend, like a little, like what, $115 around that time, if I had that much money, I'd probably go with the Jensen Radeon RX 550. the pink graphics card. Um, that one, while it has a 4 gig DDR5 in it, while the one that I have, the GT 1030, is a 2 gig DDR5. So if I had extra money, I probably would have gone with the Ensign, but I didn't have that money, so I had to go with the GT 1030, which does pretty well as far as like running just simple simple indie games and all that stuff. But there are also games that I need to get to play as far as like fighting games concerned, like them's Fighting Herds, or somehow getting a copy of or a Steam code of Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle. Being able to play that as well on PC. And yeah, installed that, installed the 4 gigs, also installed the SSD, which is also a bit of a struggle to do because come to find out that um, the M.2 card that I need to put in, it didn't have screws on the spot that it needed to be screwed down on. So what I had ended up doing was taking one of the screws from the motherboard and slowly, like one turn, slowly screwed it in to where like it was enough to where the threads would catch inside, even though the threads were not the same at all, but just enough to where the threads can go and lock each other in to stay in place, and the thread of the outside thread would also lock the SSD card, the M.2 SSD card, into place where that doesn't move. The goal was to make sure that the SSD card was secured in place, and that's what it did. I kind of MacGyvered that little process, and yeah, now the PC that I'm running is pretty much almost all good. There's one thing that I'm thinking about probably doing for this particular PC, and that's probably, if it's possible, replace the CPU, because the CPU that I have in this thing pre-installed, pre-built, was an Intel Celeron. I think it was called Celeron. GS something. It's basically Intel Celeron processor in there, and that happens to be basically a $40 CPU that is not meant for gaming. It is not meant for gaming. It's not meant for any of those things. So yeah, if I want to probably try to play or see if I can even run Apex on Steam, I'll probably have to do that. I probably have to replace the CPU, which I feel like there's only one other CPU with its threads that are practically the same that can be replaced, and that's the Intel Premium, Palladium, something like that. The Palladium Gold. That'll probably be the one that I can replace that with, which is about $60 to $70 CPU, but it has goes up to 3.7 gigahertz, while this CPU that I have only goes up to like 3.1 or 3.2. So that'll definitely help out. What else? So that's pretty much all the upgraded stuff that I'm able to do with this particular PC. And also needed to tweak some stuff as far as the either GeForce experience with just the 2 games that I've, like I said, Apex Legends, and also Helltaker. Helltaker needed GeForce experience, even though I played the game without it, and it actually was a decent time. Didn't really need it, I don't think. but I needed a control panel to help boost and give the GT 1030 the performance that it needed to help run Them's Fighting Herds and BB Tag. So those are good and playing almost locked 60 FPS while in gameplay. While loading menus, it'll dip a bit, but other than that, a good lock 60 while playing the matches and stuff. So that was my big goal, to keep it at a lock 60. And also, I do have 60 hertz monitors, so I'll make sure it'll just stay at 60 FPS, and I'll just keep it at that because I also also found out about higher refresh rate monitors, namely being 144 hertz monitors, to where you can bump up the FPS to even higher than 60, and seeing that and all that stuff is just something that my mind literally cannot keep up with. I got way too used to just playing console games and seeing stuff at a good lock 60, to the point where, like, I don't mind if I stay at the 60. I don't need to go super high on the frames and stuff like that. So yeah, I've also dabbled into like seeing what I could build myself as far as like a PC. Like I thought about trying to get a slim tower case, like kind of like the one I have for my current PC, but maybe slightly slimmer or something similar like that, and then just put it in to where like I can actually have a crazier motherboard to where I can actually put in a better graphics card and stuff like that. But that's just something that'll probably won't happen like till like a couple years or so, or if this particular PC just straight up craps itself. Um, but I feel like that won't happen for a long time, or at least until like 2 to 3 years. Um, so yeah, that's the game plan, and that's what I'm trying to do for this particular PC. Um, and yeah, um, other than that, I'm just mainly sticking to indie games, not going to AAA titles because why would I, with the crappy PC that I have? Thinking about seeing if I can play some other games that hopefully that I can run the bare minimum. Like I don't think I'll be running games like, as far as fighting games, I don't think I'll be running games like Tekken 7 or Street Fighter 5, even though the netcode would probably be slightly better on PC than on PS4. Um, also, don't know if I'm going to do Monster Hunter in the PC as well. I don't know. Uh, that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much it as far as my dabble into PC hardware and PC gaming is concerned. Like I said, probably next year I'll think about trying to replace that CPU if it's possible, and hopefully get a slightly better gaming experience to where like very little work happened. Oh, I could probably just mention that I tried overclocking um, my graphics card to the point where I feel like I may have shortened the lifespan of the CPU, maybe, or just the graphics or something with the PC. I may have shortened the lifespan of it. So that might be a telltale sign of me having to try to find a way to build my own, or just something in like about 2 years, in about 2 years time. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll get in contact and see what other improvements that I've made to this little PC that could. Um, I'll probably let you guys know if I replace the motherboard, not motherboard, the CPU, probably on Twitter or maybe a video. if I do a full big breakdown, because I have recorded myself actually replacing the parts and stuff like that, and I'm thinking about maybe trying to couple it all together and see what I can do with it. Um, yeah. If I ever do decide to replace that CPU, I'll film myself doing that as well. Um, and yeah, hopefully that'll be a fun little video to like me kind of commentating over my process of me just replacing what I need to replace on that system. So yeah, that is it. It is late at night, and it is time for me to get ready for work in the morning. But I'm glad I remembered to try to get this episode recorded before it needs to be uploaded tomorrow night. So thank you guys so much for checking that out and taking a listen. If you haven't seen the other videos or heard the other audio podcasts, go ahead and check them out. It'll be in the either on the podcast playlist on my channel, so go ahead and check that out. And yeah, that is pretty much it. I hope you guys have a nice, safe time while living wherever you are living in the world. And yeah, hope to see you guys next time. Take care, guys.